Well, part of that forms the, at least the crux of what we'll start talking about here today on Sunrise Today. We're joined by Mr. Babatunde Ogala, who is a legal practitioner and a member of the APC. Thank you for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
A lot of confusion about that on the floor of the Senate. I mean, those who have been writing in, just wondering, wait a minute, does that mean that the promise that the APC made about paying 5,000 naira monthly stipend to the unemployed has gone off like that?
I think we need to be careful here. That motion was obviously mischief. Obviously. And this is a policy that, if it's going to come into effect, has to be well planned. It may need legislation. It may need to be appropriated for. Do you appropriate just by way of a motion on the floor of the legislature? This is what will come by way of bill, a bill, which we call is a money bill. If for any reason the president or indeed anybody progresses with such a program now, it will be extra budgetary. I am not aware that it's appropriated for in the 2015 budget, because we are talking about appropriating money, paying monies to some persons. Is it appropriate for in the 2015 budget? I am not aware of that. If, however, it is not done, and you need to so do, you either will go back to the legislature for an amendment of the appropriation law. Do not forget, the appropriation law is a subsisting law of this country, that any breach of it is in itself even impeachable. Or you go for reordering of the budget. So what has not been appropriated for? How could a senator of the Federal Republic come on the floor of the Senate and say, go and start spending money that has not been appropriated for? However, looking at the flip side, the party had made a promise. And the party has continuously, and the government has continuously reiterated its commitment to its charter and covenant with the Nigerian people. This government is only 5 months old. It has not come up with a budget of its own. It has not presented any appropriation to the National Assembly. However, let us even look at, give an example of Obamacare.
Do they need a budget of their own to function?
Just a minute.
No, but they don't need a budget of their own.
You need a budget. It must.
No, when you say of their own,
yes,
there's a subsisting budget.
But the program is not captured in that subsisting budget, which is a law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's the 2015 appropriation law.
In other words,
it's not just a proposal.
Let me understand.
It is a law.
All right. Are you saying that that money cannot be paid?
It cannot.
Until
it is appropriated.
It is in the budget.
It cannot. Anything short of that is misconduct on the part of the president. If he goes on now and says, okay, I'm going to do this program, from which head is he going to move the funds?
Yeah, but then the question...
From which heads? But listen, like I was saying, we look at an example of Obamacare, which eventually saw the light of day. It was a campaign promise. It was not implemented in his first year in office, not in his second year in office, perhaps in his third year. I am not saying this should start in the third year of the Buhari administration. But whatever you have to do must be planned for, must be appropriated for, and you must come at a time. He has made a promise in the light of his administration. Let's also assume, do not consider it, when does our fiscal year even start? The fiscal year of this country starts on January 1st of every year. So for him to even want to do this, I'm not aware that he has made any proposal for the amendment of the appropriation law. He has not brought anything for supplementary budgeting. So the motion by Senator Aduda, it's, well, it is sheer politics, we know. It's sheer politics that he played. No, but I think they should play politics in Nigeria and not play politics with Nigeria.
Okay, now, you might say, I mean, you're positing that this is sheer politics. You're saying that the motion was mischievous in the very first instance. But then some people will say, how do you then handle a mischievous motion? Is it by totally rejecting it?
Absolutely.
Or pointing out the mischief in it?
Look, the right thing to do is not to waste time on such a motion, which you know was not well thought out. Like I keep saying, if you are moving a motion to say, go and start this payment immediately, as Senator Aduda himself, or indeed the minority leader who supported him, Senator Akpabio, and indeed the whole of their caucus, have they thought about appropriation for the funding? You must think of how you want to fund it.
The party,
you must,
while they were campaigning,
yes,
because at that time there were lots of questions. People were asking,
how is it going to be implemented?
How is the party going to do this?
It's
I remember at
easy.
that time,
It's
they
easy
did
to
say,
implement.
look, there is no funds for this. Where would the party get money? They didn't just highlight that, this is how we'll do it, we will get appropriation.
I think we need to be careful.
Did they say they were going to do all of this?
Absolutely so.
How did they say they were going to get the money?
Absolutely so. I remember I was even at a forum where the vice president said it is about reordering her priorities.
Because what I see
Look,
here
listen,
on the party
listen,
manifesto.
Listen, yes. What does the party manifesto say?
It says we can afford to do this if we are serious about tackling corruption.
Yes. So, process of corruption.
That's what they said they were going to get funds
such. You also heard Dr. Ebe Kachikwa said it when he came for screening. And he said the total oil consumption, because when he was talking about subsidy, he said it's nearer, closer 30 million than 40 million that you pay on subsidy. Those are funds that will be freed. If you tackle leakages, those are funds that will be freed that you can use to fund. If you cut waste, like the president is doing, he will free some funds. If you tackle corruption, you plug leakages. So it's a matter of, even the funds that were spent on Shopee, that they're not even saying they should probe. It came from somewhere, but Shopee was
all the states,
almost a total failure. But I'm saying, you also heard a Dr. Kayode Fayemi. You heard him at the Senate screening, where he gave a clear example of how they implemented that project in Ekiti State. You also heard, you're also aware of the Oshu State Feed a Child program. The funds are coming from somewhere. So it's a matter of changing your priorities, reordering, effective planning, and plugging leakages.
Okay,
so
at the moment
basically,
now,
the funds are there, the Shopee funds, even if it is what is budgeted for Shopee alone, that is put in such a program.
One would
it
have
will
thought.
go a long, long way. If it is the kind of
One would
money
have thought.
that was spent on the Nigerian centenary,
If you say
it will go
then,
a long, long way.
if-
That's the defenders.
Because
If you say then that, the reps, because what we're saying here, PDP attacks APC senators for rejecting.
Yes.
APC senators rejecting
their motion,
5,000 naira stipend.
Yes,
That was
rejecting
not
that
just the motion,
That was what they
rejecting the
rejected.
payment of the 5,000.
I
Which-
heard clearly, I watched, we have just watched it again. I'm not interested in the coloration anybody wants to give it.
No, what I'm saying
The man
is,
moves a motion. Senator Aduda moves a motion that APC, that it was moving a motion that they should start immediate implementation.
No, it was a comprehensive motion of which he now added that part. So they then now said no, they couldn't do that.
They couldn't do it. How can you say it should be immediate?
No, he said since the party had promised, can
Yes.
they start the payment?
Exactly.
Because
The party,
if he knew that he was going to be appropriated for...
The party did not at any point promise to start the payment immediately. So it's not in his place to say you should start the implementation immediately.
When did the party say they were going to pay?
When the party, I've just explained to you, appropriation is a process.